Okay, let me start today's class. So, uh, first of all, let's review what we have learned previously and also talk about what we are gonna do. Uh, we learned a couple of things here, starting from EndNote to NVivo, and so let's take a look at it. So if you look at this one, we this one. We looked at the NVivo related literature, and so we searched the name like case study, and then we found out among 345 references, I asked how many case studies were there in this database, and the following shows result. I gave this slide for 20 seconds, so it will move on soon. If not, something wrong, but too long.
So this is EndNote?
Yeah, from the end note. So I searched the data and then I got the answer right here. What I want to know is about the case study. So contains type and case study and things like that. Well, it should be moving, but it stuck in some way. Must be something wrong. Okay, let me try that again. So I put the what in the beginning. So in the EndNote data, there are a couple of the altogether gonna be 345 references. Uh, this is kind of weird. Okay, so I searched and I found well, this is the finding. Among 23 studies out of 345 used the case study as their primary investigation. If you select Kim and Kang, so I selected Kim and Kang, and you will see the URL link to get the paper. So on the right side, you see the URL links. So by reading the abstract, they provide the abstract right here. Uh, by reading the abstract, you can decide if you take this article as a part of your dissertation. So select all of the cases. So you have to select all of them, starting from the Kim and Kang. So when you do this, you usually do shift and page down and things like that. So like this one. So you have to select all of them and go to File and Export. Right? This is the end node, okay? And so in the end node, if you click on the file, there is an export. So click on the export, and then when you export the data, you have to set like XML, which means this file can communicate with any other programs without installing it. And then uh, XML is the key. And also you can put as an output style with the APA 7, which is the newest version. So if you take a look at this one, they got file, home, import, create, explore. Obviously, this is NVivo. So in NVivo, if you click on the import, uh, click on the import, uh, under import, they do have bibliography, okay? And so like this. And if you click on that, there are a couple of choices. You may use Citavi, Mendeley, EndNote, Jethro, Redbox, and things like that. And for this case, I use EndNote, and you have EndNote data there. So click this one, and the data that I'm trying to import is on the computer screen. Local C drive, and this is the NVivo related data. I searched the case study, 23 case studies, and this one has that one. And you can open it up at NVivo. So import from EndNote, import from, like that. Just leave it as it is and click import and click on. And so in NVivo, you see externals. Usually, if you click on the external, you can see the data. Among them, you can select one of them, a case study of elementary school, and then you can edit. So here, you can create your memo about the paper that you imported. And so if you go to the notes in memo, you can see the abstract for this paper. So possible research agenda might be a researcher's agenda. Maybe if you are interested in dividing the agenda, maybe you can divide them. And also you can do co-analysis, try to see the difference between gender. Or maybe you could conduct the sentiment analysis of the researchers about the feelings and things like that. And we also learned about the framework matrix. And so I don't know whether the slide works or not, but anyway, this one. Framework matrix in my computer, first session NVivo R1, there is the data, and also there is the framework matrix project that I conducted. So double click on this one, and then it will ask you next, and you have to upgrade because you created this one from the previous version. And then you can see the upgrade version with the following research papers. In the framework matrix, there are 0, 0, 0, things like that. And so I need to clear this up. So let me select the irrelevant papers, and then I can delete, okay? And so I only got 3 here, Truscott, Alice, Beechner, and things like that. And so you select this one, and you have to create as caches. And so if you select that one, the location for this file converted as a case will be at caches. So click OK. Reason why you have to do that is because these are the original document, okay? And why do you need to have caches? Well, you should create row and column here, and so maybe well, the best way gonna be just to create this one as caches. That will help you with more searches, okay? And so you just saw the files here and 3 ones. And if you click on the caches, because you created the caches, you can see the same one here. This is the original document, and this is the cases. Okay, so now you can create a framework matrix. So create a framework matrix, and then it will ask you the general name and row and column things. So type the literature review, and then you have to create the rows. So go to rows. If you go to rows, it will ask you the selection, okay? And so if you click on the case, you have three documents right here, and you select that one, those one, and click OK. And and then you can also have to select the columns because it's a combination of row and column basically. So if you click on the select, then it will directly give you the the papers, the original papers right here, and click OK. And also codes, uh, those are the codes that I created before. So select this one, okay? And so the general, this is the literature review, and row, if you click on the row, there is a cases for the writers, okay? And in the column are the place where the coding that you created are located at. And click OK. Then you will see the results like that. In the past, when researchers conducted literature review manually, I read tons and thousands of papers, and I made notes on each individual article. For 6 months, I went to the library to read and take note the papers, which is suitable for my doctoral dissertation. Read and write down the important points from my selected articles or books for 6 months, for forgetting about my role as a father, husband, and the son of my mother in Korea. When it comes to writing up, I looked over my notes and I felt the writer's block. I got nothing out of tons of thousands of memos that I wrote in the notes. Again, I wandered here and there and do nothing. My problem was to organize information from books and articles effectively. Organize as well as quote nicely is an NVivo's job. Researchers used to believe that writing over research is the final process of research. And Wolcott recommended that researchers should start writing in the beginning of the research phase, and it is even an ongoing process even after the publication, because writing is the part of qualitative research. However, the advice lacked in practicality because he did not show how to get the best results when the aid of computer-assisted qualitative data analysis. Even Wolcott did a manual work in identifying themes of his study. With traditional manner by hand, manually. What makes powerful about Calculus is that it helps whole process of qualitative inquiry, data, analysis, interpretation, and final writing up. For the sake of framework matrix, R1 gives you a map for writing literature review with a nicely summarized table. If you look at the above circle, the content definitely condensed to help my literature review writing, you have to do the auto summarize. To do that, you need to summarize that, and then you can get the result like that, this one. And also, if you have colleagues who do not have NVivo and you want to share and discuss your readings, you can export the results to Excel spreadsheet. So click on the export, and it will be exported to the computer screen, and save. You see this one, what researcher said about WCF right here on my computer screen. And if you double click on it, you can see the following is what you need to discuss with your colleagues or your student advisor if they don't have the NVivo. Well, let me move on to the third one we talked about before, the text search. We did a text search with the Chromatic study right here. The title of the project, Framework Matrix Exercise. So if you click on the Chromatic studies, there are 17 articles there. And so you can select those and you can go to explore and do a text search. So go to explore, text search, and on the search for type writing quality, let's type that one, writing quality, and run query. And so right here, you have to choose a specific document. So for this case, click on the files plus sign, and if you do that, there are three files there, and what we are looking for is the chromatic studies, okay? And so right here, right next to two files, we don't see, we cannot find the chromatic studies. So click on the plus sign and you see chromatic studies here. And then you can check mark this one. And when you do automatically select this and codes, well, if the file has a sub-files or a lot of sub-files, then you have to click that one. But for the case of 17 chromatic studies, they don't have any sub folders. The sign for the subfolder is just the plus sign. So there is no plus sign at all. So files, select chromatic studies and OK, and you can do a run. And so the results are this. So there are many ways of looking at it. And so well, one good thing about text search is you can create a code without doing it all by yourself. Just simply search and you will get the results, okay? And so when you get the results, you can save it, right? Okay. You can save where? Store query results. So if you save it here, you can have the final results as a form of coding. So, or you can also save this one to the coding that you have created, the coding list, okay? And so select and query results. Okay, for this case, it should be kept under query results. And so you should give the name, writing quality, the coding name for that, and click OK. And if you go to queries and click on the query results, you will see the results, okay? And like that, writing quality. And so rather than having this one here, you can also move this one to the coding. And so like writing quality, and you can go coding codes and just move this one to the codes, not the coding results. And another way of looking at it is looking at the word tree. And so word tree gives you the fancy idea. If one conducts quantitative research, the word that they are using is standard. However, however, qualitative researchers are quite interested in the context where the words are from. Uh, uh, excuse me. By looking at a specific context, qualitative researchers try to understand what is going on in the field. NVivo R1's function supports these endeavors. To look at the context for writing, search one of the data and run text search query. And if you would like to see more further context, you can double click the original text. So right here, it shows the coded part and the broad context like that. Okay, let me move on to autocode to find the theme and to find pattern. Autocode to find out the theme in chromatic study. Again, we are in the same study, chromatic, and 17 papers right here. And so we want to do autocode. So select the 17 papers and then right click on that, and there is the autocode, okay? And so in the autocode, you have two options here. You can identify themes or you can identify sentiment. At this time, we want to identify themes. So click this one and click next. And what this one shows is among 17 papers, some papers cannot be identifiable, and because those are written in Korean, so they do not support the Korean language when people conduct the identifying themes. And I guess they hate Koreans, so that's why. So we cannot conduct anymore.
So what do you do then?
Pardon me?
It doesn't have a Korean.
Well, if you go to the home site and check up the language provided, Portuguese, Spanish, Chinese, Japanese, English, and I think those are all, and not for Koreans.
Or maybe it's because, like in Korea, there are not so many, like the big group of the users.
Yeah.
So what do you do then?
Well, this one, as you can see, ignore. This one ignores the Korean written document.
Okay. So you can't do anything.
So I do have a 17 chromatic studies, and among them, mostly those are written in English, and these are written in Korean. And what this one says is that cannot perform the searches. That's okay. Then I could maybe I can identify theme from 14 studies written in English. Segregation, isn't it? No, I don't think so, because they do not support almost all of the world languages.
It's economics.
Money making. Koreans are very stingy on buying programs and things like that. Well, you could see the theme right here, and so click on the finish, and you will get the. Okay, click on the code sentences and click next. And autocode, it will be saved right here, autocoded themes right here, and click on the finish. And then you will see the results like that. And usually I'd like to transpose. If you click on the transpose, the row and column's position will be changed. So like that, those are parent, the theme, and those are the participating article, co-matrix studies. And here you see numbers like that, and so you can also export coding matrix like that, and then on your computer screen you can type like Oracle the same results like that, and you can save it. And so on your computer screen you are gonna see this one, the results, and when reporting the results, before report the results, you have to do some formula here. You have to identify the total number and things like that. You have to do the work in the Excel, so you will get the total coding for the participating articles like that. And then copy this one, the theme, and I moved the theme right next to the total score so that I could see the pattern more clearly, like that. And I also give the rank here, the rank. I copy that, and I try to give them rank. And so you have to paste with value, and so right here ordering things, and so I order by total number of the themes identified from NVivo. So as you can see, 14 chromatic studies, the top theme is obviously writing and text, words, language, and the last one was students. Sentiment analysis. To search sentiment in 70 chromatic studies, again, select 17 chromatic studies and right-click on the mouse and auto-code. And then you will get this one. It will ask you to identify themes or to identify sentiment. In this case, you click on the identify sentiment and click on the next. Code the sentences again and finish. And we get the results like that. And if you would like to export this one, again, you can export coding matrix to Excel. On your computer screen, save, and then you see right here. The theme, the sentiment. And also, you can do the same work. You have to add up, okay? And so you see the number right here. If you add up the number divided by positive and negative emotion, you will get positive 569, negative 455. We know that positive emotion outperformed negative feeling. The difference here is 114. Is this difference significant? We cannot simply say that the coding differences between number, in terms of number, positive and negative are significant because we see only great and small number telling numerical differences only, 100 for 10. And so then, how do we know these differences are significant? And so, to prove that one, we can move the raw data to SPSS. We can copy the raw data and we can go to SPSS, and I want to input the data and check. So I input the data right here, and I need to clear zero part right here. And also, after clearing up the zero parts, I need to go to the analysis, okay, to prove that the numerical differences are statistically significant or not. And so this part is very tricky. If you don't have any statistical knowledge, there is no way of choosing it, okay? And so let's go there. Okay, what kind of statistical analysis will be possible? Well, dependent variable, remember again, last time I told you about the what? NOIR. Depending on your measurement scale, you can do the statistical analysis. And the emotion, they are talking about the emotion coming from the data, so those are obviously nominal, okay? So we cannot conduct parametric statistics because if you would like to conduct parametric statistics, well, the dependent variable should be interval, like 0 to 100, like TOEIC score, like reading comprehension score, or things like that. So you have to have those kind of measurement scale to conduct parametric statistics. However, for this case, I only have the nominal variables, so I cannot do the parametric statistics because of my measurement scale. And so right here, I cannot do this because this is about the parametric statistics, and it says non-parametric statistics right here, and legacy dialog box, and then I can do a k-test right here. And if I click on that, okay, I do have 4 dependent variables here, so I move here. And then what I want to do, couple of choices, testing statistics. Friedman statistic is the one that I would like to see the difference. So click on the confirm. And following is the result of statistical analysis for the sentiment of 12 researchers, Qualitative, okay? Qualitative. So among 17 articles, in the process of analysis, 5 articles were ignored because they were written in Korean. So they cannot do the sentiment analysis or thematic analysis when it is written in Korean language. But other than that, 12 survived anyway. So non-parametric statistics, and there is the result. And the one thing I'd like to emphasize is that if you cannot read this table, well, there is no way for you to survive here, okay?
This is from SPSS.
Yeah. And so let me ask you, how about the results? Is that the statistically significant or not significant? You cannot read it, okay? How about you? You cannot read it? Significant or not? Significant? On what basis are you telling that?
I don't.
You don't know, okay? How about you?
Me too.
Uh, as a doctorate candidate, uh, as a doctorate candidate, well, we are not talking about option. We are talking about obligation. Every time we do statistical analysis, we do have to have an ability of interpreting the result, okay? If you cannot do that, well, you cannot do the research as well and finish. So, roughly speaking, there are two different ways of doing research, okay? The first one, that's what we call quantitative studies. Usually they do statistical analysis. And what you're looking at is just one of them, SPSS. Well, there are many packages like R or SAS or things like that. The purpose is to test the study results. And as a doctorate candidate, in order to conduct the research, you have to learn, and you have to have the software to run the data. Okay?
But what is that 1.17 out of? Is it out of 10 or 100?
Well, this one talks about the mean numbers right here.
That's the
Okay?
average.
Average number.
Yeah, so is it out of 10 or 100?
And this one talks about the testing statistic, where the results are there. Okay? So the total was 12, and chi-square, 27, degree of freedom. Degree of freedom, okay, they got 4. So when they talk about degree of freedom, you should minus 1 here. So that's why 3. And here is the results, probability. And how about the number? 0.000. So is that statistically significant? Well, basically this one talks about that.
It means there's no correlation at all? If it's 0?
We are not talking about correlation. We just talk about testing, okay? And so looking at the mean differences among 4 group here. So 1 and 2 are positive, and 3 and 4 are negative, okay?
So how can I? Can I ask how can I how can I know about its significance or not?
By looking at the number. So this is what they call P probability.
So the probability is 0.
Right. What does that mean?
No,
0 or what? That they're negative towards it?
it's nonsense.
I strongly urge you to learn about the statistics. Okay. So there are many whole bunch of statistic, ways of learning it. You can buy a book, or you can attend the workshop, or even you can try the YouTube, and maybe you can type the basic things about statistics or like that. Then you can get whole bunch of the lectures and things like that. So that could be one word. Okay. Another word is not looking at the number, but looking at the meaning. This is the place where looking at the meaning or looking at the number.
Numbers.
What I'm teaching you for this course, starting from next week, we are going to discuss and talk. So what we are going to talk about is not the number mainly, but the meaning making process and interview and things like that. And what I'm showing you is quantitative study. Well, actually, this is a mixed study. Okay, I got the data from the words. So starting from quantitative, uh, qualitative, and to quantitative. Okay, and so according to the quantitative table, what this one means. Usually, people uh, they interpret like if the score is above zero point zero 0.01 or zero point zero 0.05, then there is no meaning at all. But if the score turns out to be below zero point zero 0.01 or zero point zero 0.05, then they say that, well, this is statistically significant. Are you with me? Because this is not the statistic course. Let me just finish that quick. Well, this is a critical value, okay, to decide whether this is statistically significant or not. And usually, when they say significance, it's like zero point zero 0.01 or zero point zero 0.05. So if the score is above this, no significant at all. And if the score turn out to be below these scores, it's just statistically significant. So for our case, is that statistically significant or not?
Yes.
Yes, 100% significant. Okay? So they are talking about the error rate or things like that. So I know you are in the beginning of the program, but finally you have to decide which one, quantitative or qualitative, or for some cases mixed. Okay, and so if you're interested in conducting quantitative studies, looking at the number, then obviously you have to learn about the statistic very clearly and thoroughly to conduct your research. Okay? Are you with me? Question? Clear enough?
Well,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah. So program, you learning, and you are here to learn. Okay? And so you have to choose what to do as a researcher. And well, let me move on to the next one. We talked about the word frequency, and here we got word cloud. So files, again, chromatic studies right here, and you can select those, all of them, and go to explore and word frequency, okay? So if you select and go to explore word frequency, it will ask you where, and on the file there is chromatic studies, so you can choose this one, all of them, and click OK. And so you will get these results talking about the word cloud, and also you will get the diagram right here, and export. Oh, well, you can of course export this one to Excel, to where? Uh, to the document, I think. And so that way, at least you can see the pattern, and the wrong one means frequency, more frequency, and things like that. Questions? No? Just look at it? Okay. And so you can move this one. Okay. In the form of the PNG file, okay? And so you can save this one on your computer screen and you see this one. And so every time you open this up, open this, you have to decide which one you would like to choose. So select this one as the picture and confirm. And then we'll get this one like that. So with a very nice way of representing the idea. Let me move on to here. Chromatic. Last time we talked about the framework things. So uh, I'm at the course right now and core matrix study framework. So we just finished talking about core matrix studies right here, and I moved on the course on the coding. And if you click on the code, there are many codes that I created. So the codes are divided by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm looking at the core matrix study framework right here. And so if you click on that, you see many things like context, genre, nationality, participants, results, sample size. Those are the framework that I created from the previous studies. And so if you click on that, it talks about the developmental and naturalistic. Developmental refers to the context where pre and post test and writing class is existing. Naturalistic refers to the context where they get the data uh, at a single point. So they did not look at the development, they just pick up the data and observe and yield the finding. And if you click on the genre, in writing, a genre means a lot, the way you write. So writing practitioners divide the genre like cause and effect, definition, descriptive, narrative, opinion, argumentative, and textbook, and things like that. Uh, among the chromatic study, okay, here genre relates to the topic of writing, and for intermediate students, they were mainly exposed to opinion essay. For example, what makes customer loyal? Non-English major students were asked to write a narrative paragraph. For example, are you a good host? And if you click on the nationality, among 17 matrix studies, Chinese, Korean, Spanish, Thailand, and United States were involved. And about the participants were 6th graders, 7 to 12 graders, middle and high school, and university. So they were divided like that. And results, if you click on the results, it talks about the core matrix results. Core indices are divided by connectives, descriptive, lexical diversity, RSA, readability, referential cohesion, situation model, syntactic diversity, syntactic pattern diversity, text usability principle, word information, and things like that. If you click on the sample size, you see under 200 or 100 is quite many compared to other ones like 300 or 400 or like that. So they only got under 200 writing samples in their study. I think this is very critical because with the small size of the sample, uh, it's really hard to generalize the findings to the whole population. Okay, so limitation seems to be clear about the previous study, and need for the study is much clear. If you select more and more and more sample writing, then your study will get the originality in terms of whole matrix related one. So uh, we also talk about the notion of the case, okay? Like in the framework matrix. So to create case, go to whole matrix studies, select 70 studies again, create as case again, do the same thing, and so on the case, you have to find out the right one here. So now that you have finished your coding, you can establish research questions. The difference between quantitative and qualitative study is that when you conduct quantitative study, you have research hypothesis and you want to test the field. However, if you conduct qualitative research, usually they don't start with any question or anything. They just be there and observe, or for this case, create as many codings as possible in order not to control the driver. Okay, so look, I do have many codings here. Uh, 17 code studies there, and I coded them. And the one you just look at was the one of the framework that I created about reading the study. Okay, I want to look at the participants. I want to look at the nationality. I want to look at the development pattern or just naturally occurring the data or things like that. So now that you have finished your coding, you can establish research questions. This is the critical difference between quantitative and qualitative study. What we are doing here is a qualitative study, okay? And so write down all the possible research questions from Chromatic study framework. Well, is there similarities or differences between developmental and naturalistic data in terms of core matrix indices? For this case, what you have to do is the search for the file classification by coding. You know the coding, the framework, but you have to create the file classification. If you create file classification, you will get the answer for this question. Do Korean, Chinese, Spanish, and Thailand show different patterns of acquisition in terms of chromatic indices? Again, what you have to do is to create the file classification and coding. These are the codings, Korean, Chinese, Spanish, Thailand, things like that. To 6th grade, 7th to 12th, middle and university students show different indicators of proficiency, while again, this is the search for file classification and coding, which you didn't run yet. Okay, core matrix study conceptual framework. And so right here, this one. And I explained again, yeah, sorry, I'm talking about the same thing right here. Uh, right, for some reason, these are mixed. I'm talking about the same thing here, sorry. Uh, yeah, let me move on here. Research question number 1. Is there similarities or differences between developmental and naturalistic data in terms of numbers of coding? Okay, let me explore this one from the matrix coding query. If you click on that, it will ask you about the row and column things. And select items, you can select them. What? Files. Maybe you can choose the files, Chromatic then. Okay, Chromatic studies, you choose this one. And right here, what you can choose, select items. And pause. Chromatic studies again. Just look at the pattern here. So basically, this is the coding right here. Basically, this is about uh, the, the file and coding searches. When you do the framework matrix query, this is the basic things. So you have to report the results like that. File by coding, okay? And so for this case, the file has been converted to case. So it's a case by coding. And here you can select anything, altogether or just one. You can select the context, okay? If you select on the context, there are developmental and naturalistic, and click on that. And so this is the search for file by coding. Or also you can create this one for cases, so cases by coding. And then you will get the results, okay? These are the papers, and these are developmental and naturalistic. So it tells you MacArthur is developmental and things like that, okay? And you can create a chart like that. Which study is developmental and which study is naturalistic? Uh, Coding matrix like that. And you see this one. And if you click on that, each individual document, you can further go ahead and look at the file like that. There are many ways of representing the table here. So you can select the default one, or you can select this one, or you can select that one, or select that one. So there are many ways of viewing it. And research question 2, what are the critical indicators that 17 core studies nominate? Right here, framework matrix, right here, this should be the core study results by core studies. And so it's like this is a coding and this is a file. So file by cause, things like that. Okay, we can also do the matrix coding query. Click on that, and we can select the data for here. Well, chromatic studies, so we can select 17 studies there and click OK. And then right here, we need the results, okay? And so right here, we have to choose code. So if you choose the code, there are many codes that I created, but you have to select the Chromatic study framework, okay? So if you select that, automatically click on the automatically select descendant codes because if you look at the Chromatic study framework, there is the plus sign. So you have to click on that so that you can include the sub nodes. And then right here, what we need is post-study results, okay? And so coding and by chromatic study. It's just basically file by codes, okay? And so we can click on that and the data here and uh, let me transpose the results. Then again, we got 107, we got 107 core matrix indices and 17 co-matrix studies. So from here, from the co-matrix studies, from this study, this indicator was identified as a critical and things like that. And so we can export this one, of course, and we can export like that. And we can say on the computer screen, uh, from the table, we know that which study nominates critical indices for the students' writing development. In the field of teaching English as a second language, this can be indicators for writing teachers to develop students' writing by having them be aware of critical indices divided by connectives, descriptive, lexical diversity, LSA, readability, referential cohesion, situation model, syntactic diversity, syntactic pattern diversity, text legibility, and word information. In the writing conference, writing teachers can share this data with the students. However, there is one condition. It should be developmental, not natural context. If the goal is to see the writing development with a series of writing, pre, post test, or even 4 series of new pieces of writing. You know what I want, okay? What that could be.
You've gone over time.
How can I, okay. I have to be here again anyway. Wow, we talk